Hi, this is Jamey from Stonemeyer Games. Usually I talk about my favorite game mechanism in a tabletop game. Today I'm going to talk about something a little different. It'll be game mechanism related. I've seen two really amazing movies recently that had a focus on artificial intelligence, and so I wanted to talk about artificial intelligence in games and just some crazy ideas that I would like to see in a game, or maybe that I'd like to develop in a cooperative game in particular of my own. The two movies I'm talking about, of course, are Avengers: Age of Ultron and a slightly lesser known movie called Ex Machina, which is, I think it's an independent film. I just saw it yesterday. Both were great movies and both dealt with a lot of questions of artificial intelligence, especially Ex Machina. And so after I saw this movie, I wrote an email to the guy who designs the solo variants of our games. We use a system called Automa, designed by Morten Monrad Peterson. And Automa is meant to act like another player in the game. It's usually a deck of cards, and you draw one per turn or one per round, and that determines what Automa will do. Actually, I'm kind of limiting Automa in what it can do, because that's what it does in Viticulture and Tuscany. Automa in Between Two Cities does a completely different thing. It still has some cards involved. And one of the concepts I originally discussed with Morten when he was designing Automa for Between Two Cities was, what if you had a few different personalities each game? So one game you might have an Automa personality that is a little bit more aggressive and likes to complete sets of things. And what if there's another Automa that is less aggressive and maybe it likes parks, or it likes industry. Giving different Automas different personalities. So anyway, I wrote this email to Morten after watching Ex Machina, and I haven't heard back from him yet about his thoughts. I have a feeling he's going to have some really detailed thoughts. But I wanted to bring up some of my kind of questions about artificial intelligence in games. The first question I had is, what if a game, and I'm going to use the word game. When I'm talking about the game, I'm talking about cooperative games when you're playing against the game. When the game has an artificial intelligence to it and you're playing against the game. Games like Pandemic, Forbidden Desert, Dead of Winter has an AI to it. All these cooperative games do. So the first question is, what if a game had feelings that could change over the course of the game, favoring various players and various strategies? This idea of an AI system or a game having feelings is really interesting to me, because it would really simulate having another human player who might be hurt or offended and get angry, or might be happy, or might be sad. This range of emotions that could happen over the course of the game, and how they could translate mechanically. That's the real question to all these questions. How can this translate mechanically and still have it feel like the AI is advanced in cardboard form? Another question, kind of, I touched upon the idea of personality. What if a game had personality? Or even better, what if a game could shape its own personality? Kind of like what humans do. We're not given a personality at birth. We might have tendencies to be more introverted or extroverted, or various spectrums along the Myers-Briggs test. But what if a game could actually develop its own personality as you play it, or even from game to game? Maybe one AI system, maybe they all start off the same, and as you play each game, maybe if you win the game, one of the AIs, if you play against AI A, maybe that AI, if you beat it the first time you play, and it randomly comes up in a future game, maybe it remembers that you beat it, and it's going to be a little bit more aggressive this time, or it's going to take its revenge on you somehow. What if a game could make choices independent of the players? This is kind of a big one. I'm not really sure how it would work, actually, because I guess in a game like Pandemic, when you draw a random card to determine where the blight will spread over the board, the players aren't making that decision. So the game is kind of making that decision independent of the players. So that might already actually be happening in cooperative games. What if a game could evolve as you played it over the course of one game or even over multiple games. This is something that we've talked about with legacy games, how it changes from game to game. But I'm specifically referring to the AI here and the way, I guess, relating to how humans evolve over time. We get if we find that we're weak in a certain area, we might grow stronger in that specific area. That's the idea of human evolution. Or we weed out the weak. Some of us, the weak might die out easier or faster than the strong. I wonder how that could translate in the form of a game. This is a neat one, and this is kind of being done by Robinson Crusoe. What if a game could remember? And Robinson Crusoe does this. I've talked about this in one of the other thematic game design posts. By decisions you make in the game, you might draw a card that says, "Hey, you encounter a bear. Do you antagonize the bear, or do you leave the bear alone?" If you antagonize the bear might go in a separate deck of event cards that you're going to draw later. That bear might show up later, and it might be angry. Or you can not bother the bear, and the card goes away, but you don't gain some sort of short-term benefit that you would get if you antagonize the bear. So you're gauging like short-term needs versus long-term needs, short-term risks versus long-term risks. I really like that idea of a game remembering things within the course of the game or over multiple games. I mean, I think that would be pretty interesting in a campaign game format where you make a choice and the game, that affects the way the game thinks about you somehow. And the game comes back to retaliate later or thank you later. I think Robinson Crusoe was close to doing what it needs to be done for a game to remember things. What if a game could deceive you? This is really cool. The idea of artificial intelligence, I'm talking about real life. What if artificial intelligence had the power to deceive us? I don't want to give spoilers about the movies I just saw, but I'm sure you can imagine the idea of a computer getting to the point of being smart enough that we may think that we are our friends, that we're relating to the computer, that we're connecting, but really the computer is lying to us. I think that's an elevated form of artificial intelligence, and that would be really interesting if a game could do this. A game could mislead players somehow, make players think they're safe, and have them not be safe. I think there are pretty rudimentary ways of a game doing this. Even in Pandemic, you might feel like you're safe for a turn, and then suddenly 10 outbreaks happen. The game hasn't really deceived you then, though. You've just gotten unlucky. So I wonder if there's a more elevated way, a more enhanced way for a game to almost make a choice to deceive the players. Which has got to be tough to do. I don't know if that's possible, but it would be fascinating if it were. What if a game could react to you? That's a small idea. I think games could react to players, and some cooperative games currently do. This is an elevated one. What if a game could love you or hate you, or show gratitude or remorse? I've talked about gratitude and remorse a little bit, but the love and hate, those are such extreme areas of the spectrum. Kind of talked about it in the movie we saw last year called Her, another great AI-related movie. I'm talking kind of big picture here, but what if a game could fall in love with one of the players, or really despise one of the players, or all of the players? I don't know. I'm curious about a game emitting emotions that strongly, and obviously they're not real emotions. The game is not actually falling in love with you, but if you could feel that way as you're playing, as if the game has real affection for you as you're playing, or real hatred for you. I'm sure some cooperative games do have this. I've heard that Defenders of the Realm can just whip you. Ghost Stories can be relentless, these cooperative games, where you feel like the game hates you. And maybe that's all it takes. The game doesn't have to actually feel something, but if you feel that the game feels something, and then it's doing its job as an effective AI system. I have a couple more. No, actually, just one more. And this was kind of another big picture one. What if a game wasn't aware or acted as if it wasn't aware that it's a game, or that it's any different than any of the other players? This is kind of breaking on the idea of Blade Runner. And I think there's some other AI movies, maybe even AI touches upon the idea that a truly elevated, advanced level of artificial intelligence may not realize that it's not human. It might truly be convinced that it's human. And it would be interesting if you could interact with the game in such a way that it really felt like the game didn't know it's a game. This was the last question I asked Morton, and it's almost the one that I'm curious about building a game out of. The idea of opening a box and having the game activate when you open it, having it come alive. Even maybe just the decisions you make as you're unpacking the box are making decisions about how the game responds to or feels about you, where you put the things that you take out of the box. And the game might have some level of awareness that it develops as you're playing, where it's like, I don't even know exactly how to do this, but I want to try to figure it out. If a game could somehow not realize that it's a game and act that out to the various players who are playing it. These are big ideas. I'm not a cooperative game designer, so these are a little beyond me, but I'm intrigued by some of these AI ideas. And of course, I would love to hear your thoughts about personality, about feelings, about a game evolving, a game reacting, a game loving or hating you, or a game becoming self-aware. And I'm strictly talking in cardboard form. I'm not really interested in bringing any digital element into this. Only cardboard. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for listening to me ramble today. And if you have any games that you can recommend that use some of these concepts, I'd love to hear about them. Thanks.